Welcome to Cobra and Uncle John's Arm Wrestling Review. This is part 2 of the exploding hand technique discussion. Now, if you missed part 1, check it out. Link is in the description over on Uncle John's Arm Wrestling Show. In part 1, we reviewed Ryan Bowen's assessment of the technique, and we pretty much told him he was wrong. Now, in part 2, we have a few classic Cobra matches to go over, and we're going to be looking not only at the mechanics of the movement, but really the philosophy that lies behind one of the most dynamic techniques in arm wrestling history. Enjoy.
All right. So we're gonna move on now. So the Ryan stuff is, it's maybe like a grade 1 entry level to the exploding hand technique. It just leaves too much out.
It doesn't explain anything about the style of pulling.
Right.
I mean, I appreciate the shout out for my technique.
Yeah.
But it's just, we got to get it. We got to get it right.
All right. So we've got like 3 clips that we're going to go through. The first one is 1991 Super Bras de Fer. This was a huge tournament in Paris, and
Yes.
It's Cobra Rhodes just looking slick as all hell, and against Mario Dore. Okay.
Mario Dore, strong guy.
Super strong guy. And this to me is like a really good example of both the idea of exploding hand technique, but also one facet of the physical aspect of it as well. And we have we're lucky enough to have some pretty decent footage from this, 30 years ago now, 30 years this year.
Yeah, that was a big show. There were 20,000 spectators in there.
Right.
I paid like $20 US a head to be in there. That was a wild show.
Also, big thanks to Arm Sport Videos for allowing us to use this great footage. Arm Sport Videos has this whole tournament.
Yeah, there's Mario and that big shoulder.
So there's the Cobra eyes.
I was young. Look at that. I know that guy. Yeah, Mario. Strong guy. Look at his lats. Look at his lats, bro.
Abnormally large for his size.
Yeah. He was 185. I was 165.
Now, in a moment, once this match starts, you're going to see really quick what we're starting to talk about.
Yeah. Now I'm holding on. I've got the advantage. I'm not pulling away. I'm coming to him.
So let me go back to that start, because there's something interesting I think that happens where you gain position and then you kind of back off a little bit.
Yeah, that's called giving to get.
Giving to get. All right, one more time. That's important. We got to go back and look at that. Watch how Cobra goes in, gets to the position he wants, and now backs off.
And I let him start losing. See, because once you look, I'm in a full Cobra there, you see, my fingers are locked down on you. Now my hand is closed on you. You see, I'm not top rolling, running away. I'm coming into you, making you pay.
Right. Like he's all the way in the back of the pad.
Yeah. I'm not worried about pinning my opponent at that point. I'm just gonna chew him up. The pin will come, I'm hoping,
So when you say you can't pin a guy till you can pin a guy, this is the stuff you're talking about.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And now this show, if I recall, there were no straps on the first slip, I think.
Oh.
And then if there was a second slip, they might have started in a hook or snap. I can't recall. You see, look at this pressure. Look, you see that slip right there?
Yep.
Can we back that up?
Yep.
Look at where my pressure is. It's not running away like most of your top rollers. Watch where my hands go on the slip. Right to you.
Boom. You pretty much hit his elbow pad when your hand comes down.
Yeah. But ding, you watch right there. You see him grab at his elbow after that. I'm just playing against the joints, not trying to hurt a guy, but making them pay for sure.
So same thing again. You got your position. You backed off, and now Mario is almost digging himself into a deeper and deeper hole into your hand, right?
Yeah, but I'm just locked down on him right now and just tweaking the wrist. My fingers don't move. They don't need to move because
Right.
all of the pressures, you see, you're in a perfect Cobra right there. And just shutting him down, tasting his shoulder, tasting his elbow, you know, telling
Mhm.
him, come on inside, come on, you know, and then the desperation is going to come, and the desperation is going to come. You cannot, I am not giving you the slip. That's exploding hand technique. You understand? Boom.
And there it was. You waited, you waited. It's really a game of patience. Patience has got to play a huge part in this.
With control. Listen, I didn't use a bit of my bicep in that match.
Right.
I never used my bicep in that match. That's all angles with good position. To the layman, it might look like bad positions, but look at my hand. That's where all the power is coming, is getting released.
Right.
Yeah, out of desperation, you have to.
And
You sebaku. You
another
have to.
thing is you actually finish this like in a hook, basically.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
After you
Yeah.
force him to submit his
Like
hand.
water, that's the kind of thing, like water, that's how it goes.
Right. Do you still have that fanny?
I might, I'll put it on eBay.
Yeah. Oh, I'll but don't put it on eBay. I'll buy it right now.
Old school. Yeah, I'm sure it's in storage somewhere.
So
Yeah.
this, if for those of you who are watching that are interested in going after this style, this is a really good match. But remember, it's the philosophy that goes along with it.
Fitzy.
So
Oh
we
yeah.
got now this is I forget the actual name of the tournament, but
It was
Cobra
like an
Rhodes,
international. It was like a 1500 class show.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So big for this time period, probably late 80s. This one's probably a little bit before Super Brustifer.
Yeah,
Maybe.
could have been. Yeah. Could have. There's so many shows.
So Jim Fitzsimmons on the left, for those that you don't know, very good arm wrestler back in that 80s era.
Anytime world champ. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Boom, boom. Yeah. See the hand set up.
Yep. And
Yeah.
here we are back in that same.
Have you seen that before? Yeah. And see, that's not usually the slip is coming here, right? But
Mhm.
my hand says no. And I'm in a position that you're like, why are you doing that? It's because I don't want another restart. I want my opponent frustrated there, knowing that, geez, what can I do? There's nothing I can do. And that goes on. That helps you in future competitions against that person. How do you go home and work on that? Oh God, look at me. What a fool. How do you know how do you go home and work on that when there's like you were never in the match, all you could do was try hard. You know what I mean? That's not a situation where a guy can say, oh man, if I had done this at that time or this at that time, it would have changed things. No, I'm shutting you down and you have to ride it out. There's nothing to figure out for you to work. You know what I mean? There's
Yeah.
nothing for your opponent to figure out. What does he learn from that match? Don't fool me.
That's a powerful psychological advantage, right? For those of you who are watching, and if you haven't had a lot of experience actually arm wrestling, what usually happens until you get to a very, very high level, even when you're on a high level, you arm wrestle the same guys a lot, right? Because you have a group of 30, 40, 50 guys in your area, and in your weight class, you're going to have 10 to 20 guys, you 10 to 20 hands that you're pulling over and over and over again. I want each of those 10 or 20 guys to be like, oh shit, I got to go pull Uncle John again. I know this is going to hurt. I know this is going to be a war. And I want them thinking that before they even get to the table.
Yes. You want them talking to their wives while they're driving to the tournament. You know what I mean? You want their wives asking them, is Uncle John going to be there? Oh, honey, you think you want to cut 20 pounds? Maybe you could, that kind of, those conversations happen.
Right.
So those conversations happen,
All right, so we got one more match that I thought was interesting. This is from the Barrie Open in 1989, so similar time frame. But I just thought this was another good one.
It was a multi-class day. I remember this day.
Yeah, we're gonna do a full review of this tournament. This tournament was out of control.
Yes. What position are we in? Taking everything. You see, you see it's very important to.
Right. Here's a good example too of something I always look for. He's going to make a move with his hand, and you are going to punish him for making that move. There, boom.
Yeah.
He made a move, and you just took more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And this is interesting too, because on the restart, we get something very, very different. Right.
Closure. That's closure. Yeah.
So you sent him a message in the first round, right?
Sure.
He got the slip, but he had to pay for it.
He worked very hard for that slip, and this is the reward you get.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
There it is. Now this last match, I forgot I put this one on at the very end. This is one we just reviewed with the Savage, Glenn Bankson. And this looks a little bit different than the other ones, but I think the philosophy is still there.
Yeah, I'm coming at his shoulder. It's about all I can do right here. Just laying on my tricep a little bit, just hitting the angles. All I'm doing now is hitting angles. This is not an exploding hand technique as much as my hand is not closed at this moment. I'm only shooting angles, working a shoulder up. Now things get a little sweeter. But it's the same process of not running away. It's coming to, coming in there to let them know.
I think it's a good example for people who want to experiment with this, that exploding hand technique is not just a maneuver. It can look different. And whether you're in a hook or a top roll or however you're doing it, there's a philosophy behind all of this stuff that drives the whole concept.
The whole plan. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Uncle John, you got it figured out.
I'm trying. I'm thinking. But it's something that you have to dedicate yourself to, not only in the way you train, but in the way that you're willing to sacrifice yourself. Because when you do what you do, it does hurt sometimes. Right.
Well, getting to that point, yeah. Like I told you before, I made pain a friend of mine. So that's, you're not going to be there. And I had the confidence and the endurance to, you know what I mean? I could have got up there and panicked and tried to win faster and created a slip and had more pole shots on my arm. But I was much more, I think, a more of an artistic athlete by making them pay and showing technique,
right?
Not just to be, the strongest guy, but to be the best arm wrestler. You understand what I'm saying? I wanted that to be the best arm wrestler. That's what I wanted to be, or the best arm wrestler I could be.
Right.
And you saw me there in the '80s. That technique is just grown. The position was a little sweeter in the '80s. I looked a lot more flexible.
Sure.
But the hand, like the straps, they never lie.
Yeah. So we haven't talked about this, but just as a parting shot to everyone at home, if we were going to define like 3 of the top things that people need to think about when they're working on an exploding hand technique type of philosophy of their own, what do you think like the top 3 big things are that you think of when you think of exploding hand technique?
Stretching of the hand.
Okay.
You need to stretch everything, but my hand, my fingers down to the elbow, so that's all I did was stretch between matches, between training. I stretch, and making everything stronger from as deep in your palm to the very tip of your fingers, just as strong. So no matter what you're holding on to, you can apply your technique with almost nothing. Like you saw me in that match with Fisher, I had nothing, but still that technique was coming. The same concept as if I had a full grasp on him.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but when you talk about closing your hand and making your hand strong, you're not talking about go to the local store and get a bunch of grippers.
No.
And work your grip. That's not what you're talking about.
No, I'm talking about that constant pressure thing that you and I have discussed offline, which maybe that we should just do a training segment and share that, or save it for the seminars. I don't care. But I mean, that was a big part of it for me. I mean, at 14, I was doing those kind of holds for arm wrestling, and it did me all right.
Yeah, I would say so. So stretching the hand, making sure the hand is strong. And what about from the mental aspect?
Everybody's gonna find their chi, man. I just open up to the game, and just be ready to make pain a friend of yours. And you know, the training can be sick. That'll make the tournaments fun. You know, cry at home, laugh in the streets.
Cry at home, laugh in the streets. That is it. That's the one. That's the new shirt right there. So everybody, thank you for joining us today. Thanks to Ryan Bowen, of course, for making a video, even though, you know, we had to, you know, do our due diligence.
We love him.
Yeah, absolutely. Pound for pound, check out Ryan Bowen. It's good stuff. He's the man. Cobra, thank you so much for allowing us to
My
a little bit of your knowledge. It's a wonderful deal.
Feel free to subscribe, folks, and like Uncle John.
And Cobra Rhodes arm wrestling channel as well, brand new. The links will be in the description.
All right.
See you guys later.
Peace.